All right, so we are going to move on and solve systems by elimination. This is our third and final way of solving systems. We've talked about graphing, and we've talked about substitution so far. So we're adding in elimination. And I think that a lot of you are going to find that this is your favorite way to solve these systems. So I have the steps written out here in words, and I'm just going to go through step by step and solve the example one as I'm talking about each step so that it kind of makes sense. You can see the example happening. So step one is to write the system so that like terms are aligned. So what that means here is that you want the y's lined up, the x's lined up, and then the constants lined up. So that's happened here. So the y's are all lined up. Here's all the x's, and here are our constants. So that step is done for us. We don't need to do anything there. Step two is to eliminate one of the variables and solve for the other variable. So to eliminate, what we're going to do is we're going to add going straight down. And what you want is the coefficient of whatever variable you're canceling to be the same number. One is positive, one is negative. So if you look right now, the x's, we have a positive 3 on top and a negative 3 on the bottom. So when I add those together, they're going to cancel out. So that's exactly what I want. I don't have to change anything. I don't have to do anything. I can just add going down. So I have 1y plus 2y. That's 3y. The x's would be 0, so they cancel out. And then negative 2 plus 14 would leave us with 12. Then I solve. I'm going to divide both sides by 3. And I have y equals 4. So we can start our negative 4, just 4. And then I'm going to take that 4 and plug it back into one of the originals, just like we do in substitution. So I'm going to pick the top one. My y is a 4. And then I have to solve this. So I'm going to minus 4 from both sides. So I have 3x, negative 2 minus 4 would be negative 6. And I'm going to divide both sides by 3. Negative 6 divided by 3 is negative 2. So our x value is negative 2, and we have our answer. Now, that seemed really simple, but that is the most, that's the easiest type of elimination problem that we will do. They don't get a whole lot harder than that, but there is a couple of extra steps. All right, so this one, we have to line up the variables, which they already are, and then we add going down, but we can't add going down right now because the x's don't have the same coefficient and the y's. The y's have both positive 3s. I want one of them to be a negative 3. So I'm going to have to change the whole line, and I'm going to pick the bottom one. And I'm going to pick this one because I noticed that this 5 is negative, and I don't want that to be a negative, and I don't want that 2 to be a negative. So what I'm going to do is times that whole equation by negative 1. If I times everything in that equation by negative 1, nothing, it doesn't change its value. It's still going to be worth the same thing. It's just going to have different positive and negatives in different spots. So I'm going to copy over the top. And I'm going to multiply everything by negative 1. It's just going to make it opposite. So positive 2x, a negative 3y, and a positive 5. Then we're going to add going straight down. So I'm going to have 5x here. The y's would cancel, and I'm going to have 20 here. Then I divide by 5. So x is 4. So that was step 1 and step 2. Step 3 is to substitute that value back into one of the original equations and solve for the other variable. And then step 4 is write your answer as an ordered pair to make sure you have it written as an ordered pair. So if x is 4, I'm going to go back to one of the originals and plug in a 4 for the x. So I'm going to pick the top one. So I'm going to have 3 times 4 plus 3y equals 15. So I'm going to have 12 plus 3y equals 15. I'm going to minus 12. 15 minus 12 would be 3. Then I'm going to divide by 3, so I have y equals 1. And then I have my ordered pair answer. Example 3, looking here, they're lined up, the x's and the y's and the constants, except for now I don't have the same coefficients. I have a 3x and I have a negative 1x, I have a 2y and I have a positive y. So what I notice is that the x's, one's positive, one's negative already. So that's good. We want that. I just need that bottom one to be a negative 3 instead of a negative 1. So I'm going to multiply everything by 3 so that it is negative 3x, and they cancel when I add down. So I'm going to keep the top equation the same, just rewrite it over here. And I'm going to times everything by 3. So I'm going to have negative 3x, positive 3y, and negative 6. Make sure that you multiply that last number by whatever you pick to multiply by, because a lot of people forget to do that and then your answer is off and everything from here on out is going to be wrong. All right, so adding, going straight down, the 3x and the negative 3x would cancel, make 0. 2y plus 3y is 5y, and 6 plus negative 6 would be 0. Then I have to divide by 5, so y is 0. Then I'm going to plug it back into one of those equations. I'm going to pick the bottom one this time. So I'm going to have negative x plus 0 equals negative 2. So really negative x equals negative 2, and remember that's like a negative 1. So I'm going to divide by negative 1, and I'm going to have x equals 2. And we have our ordered pair. Example 4, they don't match up. I have a 2 and a 3 for x and 5 and 4 for y. So I have to figure out what 2 and 3 go into. So they go into 6. 5 and 4 would go into 20. So I have to decide, do I want to make the x's into 6's or do I want to make the y's into 20? So I'm going to pick the x's because 6 is a smaller number. You're going to get the same outcome if you picked the y's and made them 20. You're just going to have to work with bigger numbers. All right, so in order to make this 2x a 6x, I'm going to have to multiply it by 3. And in order to make the bottom one a negative 6x, I'm going to have to multiply it by 2. So I have to change both equations here. So 3 times 2x would be 6x, 3 times 5y would be 15y, and 3 times 26 would be 60, and 18, that's 78. And then at the bottom, I'm going to have negative 6x, negative 8y, and negative 50. So I'm going to add going down. My x's will cancel. And 15 and negative 8 would make 7y. And then 78 minus 50 is going to be 28. Divide by 7. Y is 4. Then I'm going to plug that back into one of the originals. I'm going to pick the top one. So I'm going to have 2x plus 5 times 4 equals 26. So 2x plus 20 equals 26 minus 20. 26 minus 20 is 6. Divide by 2. X equals 3. So these two lines cross at 3, 4. All right. I'm going to come back to this one if we have time. I want to make sure we have time to get through all these different types of examples. All right, so this one, I have 1x and negative 3x, 2y and 1y. So I notice the x's, one's positive and one's negative, so that's a step ahead of the y's. So I want to make the top equation be a 3x. So I'm going to multiply everything by 3. So I get to pick what number I multiply by because I want to make them so that they cancel out. So I'm going to have 3x, 6y equals, not 66, how about 33? And then negative 3x plus y equals negative 5. So I'm going to add. The x's will cancel. we'll have 7y. 33 minus 5 would be 28. Then I'm going to divide by 7, so y equals 4. Then I'm going to plug that 4 back into one of the other equations. I'm going to pick the bottom one. So I'm going to have negative 3x plus 4 equals negative 5. I'm going to minus 4. So negative 3x equals negative 9. Divide by negative 3. So x equals 3. And these would also cross at 3, 4. All right, one more here. I can choose to make the x's 10s or the y's 6. I'm going to pick the x's this time because one's positive and one is negative. So I want this to be a 10, so it's got to be multiplied by 2. I want that to be a 10, so it's got to be multiplied by 5. So I'm going to have negative 10x plus 4y, and 2 times 32 is 64. And then here I'm going to have 10x, 15y, and 50. So if I add going straight down, I have 19y, and 64 and 50 make 114. And I'm going to divide everything by 19. I get y equals 6. Then I'm going to plug that back into one of the originals. I'm going to pick the bottom one this time. So 2x plus 3 times 6 equals 10. So 2x plus 18 equals 10. I'm going to subtract 18. So I have 2x equals negative 8. Then I'm going to divide that by 2. So x equals negative 4. These two cross at negative 4, 6.